हमारे वक्त की धड़कन, हमारा चिंतन, हमारी भावनाएं, हमारे विचार, कभी कोमल बातचीत तो कभी इंटरेक्शन तेज तर्रार। तय करें मिलकर व्हाट इज रॉन्ग, व्हाट इज राइट। ITV पर अशोक व्यास के साथ इनसाइट टुनाइट। नमस्कार, इनसाइट टुनाइट विद अशोक व्यास कार्यक्रम में आपका स्वागत है। और बात खबरों से शुरू होती है। खबरें कभी चौंकाती हैं, दहलाती हैं और कभी दुखी होता है मन जब निर्दोषों की जान जाती है। एक हमला पूना में, एक गोली मुजफ्फरनगर में, गुड़गांव में कर्फ्यू, तनाव भरा हुआ शहर में। एक छात्र फिर स्कूल में बंदूक चलाता है, फिर कोई मासूम अकारण ही मारा जाता है। और उधर कराची अंतर्राष्ट्रीय हवाई अड्डे पर और गोला बारूद लेकर घुसे हमलावर, चीख पुकार के बीच मौत का खौफनाक स्वर। सवाल ये कि हमारी शांति को लील रही है क्या राजनीति की चाल? चाहते तो सभी है ना कि करें तरक्की, मिलजुल कर रहें खुशहाल। सो द क्वेश्चन ऑफ पीस, पॉलिटिक्स एंड पीपल, violence on many levels is bothering us, and that is something which demands our attention. Not only attention as we read any news, but a little bit more attention asking us to do our bit. तो क्या हम कुछ कर सकते हैं? Is there anything that a common man can accomplish in maintaining or sustaining peace, or at least building that kind of environment जो शांति बनाए रखने में सहायक हो? Today's theme is peace, politics and people. So many times we hear people blaming everything on politics. Is it possible for politics to act as a bridge, an effective bridge which would connect people with peace, peace with people? How are we doing on that front today, with a lot of concerns about the recent happenings where we have seen innocent people losing their lives, and many areas still looking for that harmonious state which makes it possible for us to bring out the best in us. We as human beings are gifted with, they say, infinite potential, and whatever potential is a part of us, it requires some sort of stability, some sense of safety. तो वो सब चीज़ें हमारे दुनिया में कैसे हो सकती हैं? और ख़ास करके हम भारत से होते हुए बात को शुरू करेंगे आज के कार्यक्रम में। और मेरा सौभाग्य है स्वागत करने का डॉक्टर राकेश कुमार शर्मा जी का। आप
नमस्कार अशोक व्यास जी और ITV के दर्शकों को भी नमस्कार।
तो आप इंटर्निस्ट हैं, इंटेंसिविस्ट भी हैं, और इसके अलावा आपका रिलीजन, पॉलिटिक्स और कल्चर में विशेष इंटरेस्ट है। आप
जी हाँ,
एज अ स्टूडेंट एमेच्योर कह दें या एविड रीडर आपको माना जा सकता है। एंड आई ऑल्सो हैव द प्लेजर ऑफ वेलकमिंग अशोक राम सरन जी, हु इज प्रेसिडेंट ऑफ गोपियो इंटरनेशनल। अशोक जी, स्वागत है। नमस्कार।
Pleased to be here.
So we are trying to focus and understand how we can all live together with peace. So let's begin with the basic question about what are the main challenges for peace. Let me begin with you, Rakesh ji. What would you say? क्या खतरे शांति के लिए खास करके आज के युग में आपको दिखाई देते हैं?
it's a famous saying that let the peace take its course, and also we all believe in negotiations. And as a human being, I would say that we all need to give due time to the peace process, no matter what the problem is. But at the same time, we have to be very realistic that is peace achieved only by negotiation, or as Mahatma Gandhi said, if someone slaps you, turn your other cheek. Does that really work? I seriously doubt it, and I personally think that sometimes peace cannot be achieved just by being nice. So there are other options, and I hope we'll discuss that.
I think I got your point, and it is interesting that when you'll see Ashok ji, you'll see the picture of Mahatma Gandhi behind him. And Mahatma Gandhi happens to be that figure, not only Rashtrapita, but we always connect him with peace because he preached and practiced non-violence. But as Dr. Sharma ji has mentioned, if you show your cheek all the time to the enemy, does that work? So let us begin by analyzing it. In your opinion, and being an international president of GOPIO, you have worked with so many people on various fronts. What is your take on this?
First of all, thank you for inviting me to be part of this panel. Peace is a very elusive thing, yet is within grasp at times. There are many challenges to peace from my perspective. They are historical, and they are because of history of peoples and culture, and differences which are perceived to be stagnant and deep. There's also the mindset of people, whether they want to take that leap into making peace, to overcome those hurdles, and there are risks involved. Vested interests would have a negative view of some challenges, of some overtures to peace, so they would like to remain as status quo. There's also the trust. There's a big challenge. How do you trust the other side, whether it's country-wise, tribal, ethnic, or neighbor? So peace itself has many factors that are challenges. There's also the the courage of leaders to be able to take that bold step. So there are intricate challenges that must be overcome, and it can be a long process, but it can also be a very random process, as in Egypt and Israel.
So I think a very important point, reference of trust and courage is quite relevant. And looking at India, the way we are building our nation after independence, keeping peace also as one of our key goal, peace and harmony, then do you think, Dr. Saab, we are moving in the right direction as Indians, whosoever be the leader, collectively, if you just look at the direction of our movement as a nation?
For one thing, India has done very well. And that does not mean that what India did is going to be good for all the nations. And the reason I'm saying that is, if you look at the Indian history, and I would like to quote the greatest philosopher of India, who's my favorite philosopher, that's Swami Vivekananda. Swami Vivekananda, very early on, realized the importance of Hinduism. He actually thought India and Hinduism are synonymous words. He always mentioned India as a Hindu country. What he said in one of his speeches was that we, of all the nations in this world, have never been a conquering race. And that is on our heads, because that's a blessing, and that is on our heads. What he meant was India being so powerful at certain time, whether it was 300 BC when Ashoka was the king, or in second millennium when India's GDP was actually bigger than entire Europe's GDP. Even then, India never attacked its neighboring country, whether it was Afghanistan or Iran, or even a tiny country like Sri Lanka. So that kind of thinking that even if you are powerful, but you don't attack others, might work for India very well. So India has done great, but other nations may not do very well because they have shown through the history that no matter what India did, its neighbors did just the opposite. So peace, or the way India has progressed in the last 70 plus years, may not apply to rest of the world. So I think we have to take example of different countries.
Yeah, allow me to interrupt you. Even while talking about India, we talk about India's relationship with other countries as a reference of peace. And then within India, a relationship amongst different communities, the spirit of coexistence. So that also becomes a factor of measuring our movement towards peace. So if we take away the external part, we just look within India, and then again the same question. Do you think if there was a measurement, the scale on which we would say that this is the scale where we'll measure the peace related to our ability to coexist and live in harmony and peace with each other as citizens of India, then what would be your observation?
I think India, being a majority Hindu country, has done very well for its share of peace and giving equal respect to the other religions. If we go back to early first millennium, when Zoroastrians were attacked in Persia and they were being converted into Islam, a lot of them fled Persia and they came to India. These people are now being called Parsis, but they have lived in India, they have prosperous more than Hindus have. So that's one example. The other example I would like to mention is people from Israel. They came to India early on when in Palestine they were being converted into Christianity. A lot of them left, came to India, and they took asylum in what we call Kerala right now. And they lived there until 1948 when Israel was created and they went back to Israel.
So I think the spirit of coexistence and assimilating whosoever becomes a part of India, that has been there. Let me take a call and we'll continue with Ashok ji. Hello, ITV Live. नमस्कार.
नमस्कार.
तो कैसे हैं आप?
ठीक हूँ.
इस विषय पर आपके क्या विचार हैं?
शांति मिलेगी नहीं दुनिया में.
शांति
नहीं मिलेगी.
क्यों?
क्योंकि देखो आज ओरेगन में एक लड़की को मार डाला.
जी.
स्टूडेंट को क्यों मार डाला?
कोई कारण नहीं.
अमेरिका में रहते और गन I have my right to carry the gun. For what purpose? What is the purpose to carry the guns and all these weapons? You are not safe in church, you are not safe in temple, you are not safe in. और दूसरी बात, आज़ादी के बाद आप पाकिस्तान के साथ गांधीगिरी की, तो वो गांधीगिरी से क्या फायदा हुआ भारत को? मैं उनसे पूछना चाहता हूँ.
जी जी. So stay with us and let me ask Ashok ji to respond. He says the approach, Gandhian approach, as far as partition and India and Pakistan came into being, how it has been helpful for India?
Partition is never helpful because you're splitting two peoples who have lived centuries together. It was imposed. It was something that was necessary at the time because of circumstances. And history is full of circumstances. However, that doesn't mean that we have to live in those circumstances. We can overcome those obstacles by looking at the peaceful coexistence and the benefits of peace compared to preparation for war.
Absolutely.
It's absolutely expensive. It's quite time-consuming, and the energy spent on that could be used for progress of the societies, both societies.
So now my question to you, Bharat ji, right? Mahendra ji, I'm sorry. हाँ, तो महेंद्र जी प्रश्न आपसे ये है कि what is your idea? How can peace be? How can we achieve peace? कुछ किया जा सकता है इस दिशा में?
मुझे तो कोई अच्छा नहीं लगता.
अच्छा, मतलब रास्ता नहीं दिखता है।
नहीं, क्योंकि इनोसेंट पीपल मरते हैं। इराक में कितने मरे, पाकिस्तान में कितने मरे, अफगानिस्तान में कितने मरे,
राइट।
पैलेस्टाइन में कितने मरते हैं,
सो आई थिंक
कारण मरते हैं।
There's also one
तो
point
एक
more.
हाथ में तलवार लेता है, दूसरे हाथ में धर्म पुस्तक लेके आगे चलता है, वो क्या करेगा?
So I think there are many important questions that you have also added to this conversation, and we'll take a short break and we'll continue.
औरंगजेब ने जब
Yeah, stay with us. We'll take a break and we'll continue.
आए थे औरंगजेब
Yeah.
तलवार लेके, तो शिवाजी भी तलवार लेके खड़े थे। शिवाजी भी तलवार लेके खड़े थे, तो शिवाजी वो नहीं आगे जा पाए। Tit for tat.
Right. So sometimes you have to face, as Dr. Sam was saying. So I would interrupt you for this short break, and then we'll continue this conversation. Stay with us.
To advertise in this show, please call 347-653-1309.
Spirituality is the medium which frees our mind of all emotional shackles and temptations and guides us towards enlightenment and peace. Himali Spiritual Center is the gateway to liberation from pain, misery and suffering. Here, through religion, meditation, yoga, worship and gem therapy, all troubles are treated. Himali Spiritual Center, 718-887-2929.
Your eyes are the windows to your world. Trust your eyes to Malik Eye Care. This is where ophthalmology, optometry, and opticianry join under one roof to meet all your vision needs. Our offices house a plethora of state-of-the-art lasers and diagnostic equipment. I'm a board-certified ophthalmologist and a member of the American Academy of Ophthalmology, and also a fellow of the American College of Physicians and Surgeons. I've done thousands of ocular surgeries to restore vision to many patients. Consult our offices to see how we can improve your vision. We look forward to seeing you at your next appointment.
Welcome back. You're watching Inside Tonight with Ashok Vyas, और आज हम बात कर रहे हैं peace, politics and people. With this theme, I'm reminded that when Nobel Peace Prize was conferred on President Barack Obama, at that time America was at war with few countries, and in his address, somewhere President Obama mentioned that even war is for peace. So that's an interesting argument. Some of us, going by Gandhian viewpoint, think of avoiding violence at any cost. So I come back to you, Ashok ji. Do you think war can also be seen as a means for peace?
Firstly, humans are the only species that make rules for killing each other. War, for example. And that sets the boundaries for doing things that are inhumane. War is never a means towards an end. It's a perpetual agony. So my answer to your question is that peace should be made by commitment of partners who have the same ideals and the same interests and the same needs.
No, what you are saying is a very idealistic situation. I'll bring Dr. Sharma and then I'll come back to you. What you are saying is both should have common ideals and commitments. If that is the case, then there is no
Well, there are,
opinion.
to answer your question briefly, There are some cases where war is necessary to achieve peace, such as World War II, for example, where some fanatic extremists wanted to rule the world, and the democratic nations had to step in. So yes, there are cases of that, but those are extremes and they involve the world.
So now back to you. We were talking about India's history, and you mentioned about Kerala and how India and those who came, they were assimilated in Indian system. After independence, do you think we have continued to live with the same spirit of respecting each other, or there has been some sort of unwritten kind of a tug of war of resources due to political reasons between different groups?
I totally agree with you. India could have done a better job, but I think it did a decent job in the last 70 years. When I say decent, we need to compare India with Pakistan. Both the countries were same before 1947 when they were divided. And if you look at where India is today, not only in democracy, but also the treatment of its citizens. And if you look at Pakistan, on the other hand, and you can say that democracy hardly existed there in the last 70 plus years. And the treatment of their own citizens by the country's either politicians or warlords is quite bad. So we have done a very good job. Did we do an excellent job? No, we didn't. And the reason has been there is some rift between Hindus and Muslims. And I wish it didn't exist, but it does. So we need to be more practical about it. And my solution to this kind of problem is that we both need to respect each other's religion without giving undue advantage to someone. Here, I don't want to give too much advantage or any advantage to Hindus because they are in majority, and I'm a Hindu. But at the same time, I do not want any politician to give undue advantage to Muslims just because they are minority. That becomes a case where minority keeps on winning without working hard, and majority keeps on losing even if they're working hard. So we need to have a very fair system where a politician does not have the power to give free things to minorities and at the same time blame the majority for anything that goes wrong. And that's just like tax system in US where you take money from rich and keep on giving to poor who don't want to work. And I'm not against poor people, but I think there has to be a fair system. India has done not that good when it comes to Hindu and Muslim because some politicians have given undue advantage to minorities and majority is kind of angry.
So I think that is one viewpoint, and maybe there are many people who would look at it from the minorities' point of view, and they'll say that there are still many members of minority who are poor, who are not as educated as the other group. So I think this calls for more scrutiny, and maybe you have some points. But let's move towards another angle where we talk about politics with reference to people and peace. What happens, as Dr. Sharma said, Ashokji, then they look, or maybe some political party people seems to be looking at one group as their vote bank, or they treat them like that. So in order for that ideal state of harmony and peaceful coexistence to happen, something needs to be done about this vote bank politics. Having observed India for so long, do you see any hope in that direction?
Since independence, India has maintained that democracy, and that's quite an achievement, whereas countries around it has gone into different directions of autocracy and military rule. So credit has to go in that. There is the question of good governance and accountability, which must be overcome. And I think steps have to be taken to achieve that so that the politics itself becomes a respectable thing rather than something to be pointed at for the wrongs and the difficulties it creates. So it must have the respect, it must have the trust. So there is a lot of work to be done. It's achieved quite a bit, but it needs to be fine-tuned, it needs to be refined, it needs to be accountable.
So I think what you say, good governance and accountability, reminds me of the present Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and his agenda has been good governance, and he has taken few concrete steps right in his first week of being in the office. And I'll ask Dr. Sharma to share more of his take on it, but let me take somebody who was trying to reach, I just lost him. So what do you think Modi government, as far as governance is concerned, what potential difference you see between the previous government and this government?
It's too early to say anything right now, but I think Mr. Modi's intentions are very good. He has not shown any kind of favorism to the majority or any kind of animosity towards minorities. And that's the first step that he has taken very well. And number two, his intention of helping poor and keeping things in balance, and also keeping corruption out of the hands of the politicians. If he can do that, that will be the best thing. And of course, we need to give him a year or two before we see, has he really done anything good for the country? But he's in the right direction.
So I think one good sign is the letter of Prime Minister of Pakistan in response to his experience of being in India at the invitation of India to be a part of the swearing-in ceremony of the new government. And he expressed willingness and satisfaction that both countries have right focus on growing together, on taking care of poor people and those kind of things. But at the same time, this disturbing development of attack at Karachi airport and then another security post looks like some extreme elements have become quite strong in Pakistan. How do you see, Ashok ji, in your opinion, it's going to play out in terms of government being able to check them?
I mentioned to you during the break that if peace breaks out, can some people handle it? There are vested interests who are for peace as well as those who are against peace. And that's the nature of things in historical context, is present day. So the answer is going to be very tricky, very cumbersome, and very time-consuming to negate those elements to bring about the culture of a mindset that will lead towards peace.
So let me take a call and we'll continue. Hello, ITV Live.
Hi, how are you?
Very good. Namaskar.
नमस्कार। तो शर्मा जी से मैं पूछना चाहता हूँ।
जी।
शर्मा जी से मैं पूछना चाहता हूँ।
जी पूछे। शर्मा जी को दिखाएं माइक। मिस डॉक्टर शर्मा।
जी हाँ।
Go ahead with your question.
आपने काफिर शब्द सुना होगा, काफिर।
काफिर? जी हाँ, श्योर।
काफिर शब्द सुना होगा।
जी हाँ।
काफिर का मतलब होता है, तो वो मुसलमान तो हिंदू को काफिर समझते हैं, तो हिंदू और मुसलमान पीस कैसे होगी? वो तो दुश्मन समझते। 3,000 साल से आप देखो, मुसलमान हिंदू को ये समझते हो, और आप गांधी जी की बात करते हैं, कैसे गांधी जी भी पीस लाएगा? आप बताइए मुझे, गांधीगिरी करने से पीस नहीं आएगी।
जी हाँ, मैं
शिवाजी के सामने औरंगजेब गया था तो शिवाजी ने भी तलवार दिखाई थी।
एक्चुअली आपका सवाल उन तक पहुंच गया है। नाउ लेट हिम रिस्पोंड।
मैं आपके प्रश्न का उत्तर देना चाहता हूँ।
जी।
ओके।
जी हाँ, क्या होता है कि सिविलाइजेशन स्लोली ग्रो होती है। कुछ देशों के अंदर वो काफ़ी ज़्यादा ग्रो हो गई है और दूसरों में काफ़ी धीरे धीरे बढ़ रही है। तो जैसे ही लोगों की नॉलेज बढ़ेगी, उसी तरह उनको पता चलेगा कि अगर कोई आदमी आपके धर्म को बिलोंग नहीं करता, तो उसका मतलब ये नहीं है कि वो आपका दुश्मन है। जैसे इस दुनिया के अंदर इस टाइम रफली 7 बिलियन लोग हैं और हिंदू सिर्फ 1 बिलियन से भी कम हैं, उसका मतलब ये नहीं है कि हम ये सोचें कि 6 बिलियन लोग जो हैं वो हमारे दुश्मन हैं। उसी तरह अगर बाकी लोगों को शिक्षा दी जाए,
नहीं, मैं दुश्मन की बात नहीं करता, मगर
नहीं, मैं आपकी बात समझ गया, लेकिन
शिक्षा देंगे 3000 साल से चलता आ रहा है शर्मा जी, कब सीखेंगे?
नहीं, वो आपकी बात
अभी लादन भी सीखा था, वो तो आर्किटेक्ट था।
मुझे लगता है कि जो शांति के साथ रहना है वो सबको सीखना ज़रूरी होता है, और जो बात आप कह रहे हैं वो बात होते हुए भी बहुत मुसलमान ऐसे हैं जो प्रेम के साथ में और भाईचारा और शांति का बर्ताव करते हैं। ऐसी बात नहीं है कि वो काफिर शब्द को लेकर जो इंटरप्रिटेशन कहीं कहीं आता है उसको सब उस तरह से बहुत रिजिडली पकड़ के बैठे हों।
तो छोटे बच्चे को मदरसा में काफिर बोला कहा जाता है।
तो मुझे लगता है कि इस बारे में हम कभी और चर्चा करेंगे कि किस तरह के एलिमेंट्स हैं जो पीस को बढ़ावा देते हैं।
रह सकते हैं, दूसरे धर्म को रहने का अधिकार नहीं है।
ये जो आर्ग्यूमेंट आपका है, मुझे लगता है इसको कभी और विस्तार से हमारे कोई मौलवी साहब के साथ उस पर चर्चा करेंगे तो अधिक होगा। शर्मा जी खुद मुझे लगता है इस्लाम के बारे में उतना नहीं जानते होंगे, तो आई वुड लीव इट एट दैट फॉर नाउ, बट आई थिंक दिस एंड अदर इश्यूज विच दे मे हैव, दे आर वर्थ डिस्कसिंग। और इस सब के बीच में कई बार इनके कुछ पॉलिटिकल इंटरप्रिटेशन जो अमुक पार्टी को सूट करते हैं वो लेकर भी बातें हो जाती हैं।
जी हाँ, ऐसा ना कि हमारे वेदों में लिखा हुआ है कि नॉलेज इज दैट फैशन फ्रीडम।
जी,
अगर आप वेद पढ़ें तो उसमें यही लिखा गया है कि जैसे जैसे व्यक्ति को ज्ञान आता है वैसे वैसे उसको ज़्यादा फ्रीडम मिलता है। तो कुछ देश अभी भी ऐसे हैं जहाँ पे एजुकेशन बहुत पुअर है या नहीं है, इसलिए उन लोगों को बाकी लोग जो उन जैसे नहीं हैं वो सब दुश्मन लगते हैं। लेकिन अगर उनको अच्छी शिक्षा दी जाए तो उनको समझ में आ जाएगा कि दूसरे लोग दुश्मन नहीं है। और आई थिंक द की इज़ टू एजुकेट पीपल।
सो ये जो बात एजुकेशन की है उसको लेते हुए फिर एक बार हम याद करें राष्ट्रपिता महात्मा गांधी को, और जो शिक्षा उनकी रही है उसमें कहीं ना कहीं त्याग की भावना को विशेष रूप से महत्वपूर्ण माना गया है। और विवेकानंद जी का जिक्र डॉक्टर शर्मा ने पहले किया, तो उन्होंने भी ऐसा कहा था कि सेक्रीफाइस और त्याग हमारे राष्ट्रीय आदर्श, त्याग और सेवा। So sacrifice and service are our national ideals. That's what Swami Vivekananda said. Now, Ashok ji, let us look at the spirit of sacrificing. It may work to portray a particular group, organization, or someone as weak, and it needs to be understood properly. So, share with us, are we educating our young minds to in such a way that they would appreciate the importance of sacrifice?
Sacrifice means that someone is giving up something or bearing some burden. In the case of peace, and you say making sacrifices, most of the time is the ones who are the poor or the majority of the poor people. In the further process of achieving peace and to bring about change, the young people need to be engaged in this process because they can bring about more influence on society and the outcome for peace. So they need to be brought in to the forefront of discussion. What are their views? How do they see their future if peace does not happen? Or how do they see their future if good governance does not happen? Do they roll along the same way? I think we have seen some change in India as well as many other countries where young people have taken up this mantle of the objections to the status quo and have wanted change because they see their future dependent on the change. And they've done it for the most part peacefully. In this case, as in any other changes in social society of a massive nature, you need to engage the young people and to bring them on board, because their participation, their ideas, and their strength.
So that is the question, whether they understand it or not. What you are saying tells me that you have a lot of confidence in the youth.
Yes.
And that also is a positive thing for India, because India is a nation of young people. And as Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji has mentioned, that he's the first Prime Minister of India who was born after independence. So looking forward to a new India, and we will talk about other aspects related to the threat for peace and how political process can be helpful or can hurt this process of peace. So we'll continue our conversation right after this short break. Stay.
To advertise in this show, please call 347-653-1309.
Spirituality is the medium which frees our mind of all emotional shackles and temptations and guides us towards enlightenment and peace. Himali Spiritual Center is the gateway to liberation from pain, misery, and suffering. Here, through religion, meditation, yoga, worship, and gem therapy, all troubles are treated. Himali Spiritual Center, 718-887-2929.
This is Iftikhar Ahmed Chaudhary, homeopathic and herbal expert in North America for the last 25 years. Are you sick and tired of allopathic medicine side effects? Try homeopathic and herbal medicine. Call for free consultation 718-396-3600 or go to our website homeopathicusa.net.
I am your immigration attorney, Michael Fulwani.
And I'm your immigration attorney, David Nachman.
Keep watching us, our program on immigration and you.
For the latest information, updates, and developments about immigration law.
Every Saturday at 8:15 p.m.
And wake up to us on Sunday at 11:45 a.m.
Rajasthani Association of North America invites you to its 4th convention from 3rd July to 6th July. 3 days of Shandar entertainment, Rajasthani folk dances, Bollywood night with Patti Lahari and party, Lajawab Rajasthani food, special sessions for youth and matrimony, Ina Bazaar jewelry, register online, ranausa.org, 516-286-1774. वेलकम बैक, यू वाचिंग इनसाइड टुनाइट द शो। और आज का सवाल ये है कि क्या आप शांति से रहना चाहते हैं? क्या आप समझते हैं कि शांति महत्वपूर्ण है, कीमती चीज़ है? शांति का जो भाव है, एक दूसरे के साथ प्रेम से रहने वाली स्थिति, ऐसा वातावरण बना रहना चाहिए क्या? और अगर आप चाहते हैं कि ये बना रहना चाहिए तो इसके लिए आप क्या करने को तैयार हैं? क्या कुछ सोचते हैं आप इसके बारे में? सो विल कंटिन्यू आवर कन्वर्सेशन विद सम ऑफ आवर व्यूअर्स। हेलो ITV लाइव। जी जी फरमाएं। तो
अशोक भैया साहब, बात दरअसल ये है, ये जो आज आपने जो पॉलिटिक्स, पीस पॉलिटिक्स एंड पीपल, पीस पॉलिटिक्स पीपल एंड रिलीजन जो इंडिया में है,
जी
सबसे बेस्ट कंट्री है इंडिया में।
जी
इंडिया में जो लोअर कास्ट, मिडिल कास्ट, हायर कास्ट, ब्राह्मण, मुस्लिम, हिंदू, सिख, ईसाई सब रहते हैं, सब पीसफुल रहते हैं। आम लोग जो इस बात का चर्चा करते हैं कि ये फलाना रिलीजन है, ये फलाना, दिस इज ऑल पॉलिटिक्स। पॉलिटिक्स क्या है इंडिया में? आप है, कांग्रेस है, RSS है, जमात इस्लामी है, मुस्लिम लीग है। ये सब लोग जो है ना, अपनी पार्टी का उभारा देने के लिए, अपने पार्टी को विन करने के लिए अपोजिट पार्टी के आदमी को ये कहते हैं कि अरे यार ये कांग्रेस का आदमी है, अरे ये BJP का आदमी है, ये जो है मुस्लिम लीग का आदमी है। इसको कहीं भी लोग जो मुट्ठी भर है ना, सम हैंडफुल पीपल इन द वर्ल्ड, इन एवरी कम्युनिटी, इन एवरी सोसाइटी, सम हैंडफुल पीपल आर टेररिस्ट।
अच्छा, तो आपकी बात को थोड़ा सा ब्रीफ आपकी बात को थोड़ा सा ब्रीफ करते हुए जी।
लीडर्स आल्सो, पॉलिटिकल लीडर्स, दे क्रिएट द डिस्टर्बेंस टू मेंटेन देयर पोजीशन।
जी जी, आपकी बात को थोड़ा सा ब्रीफ करते हुए आप बताएं क्या किया जाना चाहिए।
देखिए इंडिया में मेरा ख्याल तो ये है कि कोई रिलीजियन, पीस एंड पॉलिटिक्स, एवरीथिंग इज देयर। हर चीज को अकॉर्डिंग टू दी माइनॉरिटी कास्ट जो भी है, तो वो जो कोटा सिस्टम कर दिया जाए, सबको जॉब मिलेगी, सबको माइनॉरिटी को पीसफुल प्रोसेस मिलेगा। लेकिन ये जो पॉलिटिशियन जो है ना, ये अपोजिट पार्टी के आदमी को डिस्टर्ब करने के लिए, अपनी पोजीशन को मजबूत करने के लिए, अपनी कुर्सी को बरकरार रखने के लिए, अपनी पार्टी का मशहूरी करने के लिए जो है ना, वो डिस्टर्बेंस क्रिएट करते हैं। तो ये आप जरा सोच के देखें बैकग्राउंड में जो डिस्टर्बेंस, कम्युनल राइट जो होता है, ये पसंद नापसंद, हिंदू, मुसलमान, सिख, ईसाई वगैरह का कोई झगड़ा नहीं है। इंडिया में कोई झगड़ा नहीं, सब भाई भाई, सब एवरीबडी इंडियन सिटीजन। लेकिन ये सब डिस्टर्बेंस, कम्युनल राइट जो होता है, दिस इज ऑल ड्यू टू पॉलिटिक्स, ड्यू टू पॉलिटिकल पार्टीज एंड ड्यू टू पॉलिटिकल लीडर्स।
बहुत शुक्रिया आपका। मैं अपने दर्शकों से जुड़ने के लिए आपसे अभी विदा लेना चाह रहा हूँ। आपका शुभ नाम? आपका शुभ नाम?
मोहम्मद अहमद खान।
हाँ मोहम्मद साहब, तो मोहम्मद साहब बहुत शुक्रिया आपका हमारे साथ जुड़ने के लिए।
मेरा एक कहना यही है कि ये पॉलिटिशियन करते हैं जो कुछ करते हैं ना, जो सिटीजन, जो इंडिया के जो सिटीजन है, वो कभी नहीं लड़ते हैं, कभी नहीं झगड़ा करते हैं। कोई हिंदू, सिख, सब बराबर।
बहुत शुक्रिया आपका।
लेकिन
मैं सोचता हूँ हम और दर्शकों से बात करें, आप हमारे साथ जुड़े रहें। ठीक है जी, शुक्रिया। हेलो ITV लाइव।
हेलो।
हाँ जी,
मेरा नाम माला है।
जी माला जी, कैसे हैं आप?
और मैं आपकी इनसाइट वॉच कर रही हूँ
जी।
I had a question. I actually asked Anand to ask you, but he says नहीं, तुम ही पूछ लो। तो मैं ये जानना चाह रही थी कि ये जो हज का मनी दिया जाता है मुस्लिम्स को, ये कब स्टार्ट हुआ था और किसने स्टार्ट किया था? If you can tell me, and how much was the amount, and also if Hindus or Christians also get this sort of money for their own pilgrimages?
Okay, let me see if Dr. Sharma knows about it.
Okay, yeah, I really enjoyed hearing him.
Thank you. So her question you could hear, right?
आपने बोला you are looking forward to a new India, and so I'm asking these questions with the same perspective.
Absolutely, no, I appreciate that question, and let's see.
What was the question again?
The question was when this Hajj subsidy was started, and is there some provision for Hindu pilgrimage also?
To the best of my knowledge, I do not think there's any provision for Hindus or for Christians to go to any religious place and get money from state government or from central government in India. It's only for Muslim pilgrimage.
And when was it started?
And it was, if I'm not mistaken, this thing was started roughly 12-13 years ago.
Oh, just like that? Okay.
Yes.
So, I appreciate your call. Thank you. Yeah. Hello, ITV Live. Hello. ये जो इस तरह की शांति है फोन वाली, उसकी बात हम नहीं करें। या हाँ, बोले।
अशोक जी नमस्ते।
नमस्कार, आपका शुभ नाम?
जी मैं सैयद बोल रहा हूँ।
जी सैयद साहब, कैसे हैं आप?
और मैं बिल्कुल ठीक ठाक हूँ, और मैं ये कहना चाह रहा था कि मैं कुछ बातों से बहुत ही सहमत हूँ। एक तो एजुकेशन बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट है
जी,
हम लोगों की कंट्री में शांति होने के लिए
जी।
और दूसरी बात ये है कि अगर कम्युनिटी की हार्मनी अगर चाहिए
जी,
तो उसमें सबसे बड़ी इम्पोर्टेंट चीज़ ये है कि जो भी बड़े क्राइम्स होते हैं, जिस तरह के रेप का क्राइम हुआ या जिस तरह से कि कम्युनल हेट्रेड में लोग एक दूसरे को अगर मार रहे हों
जी,
उसका बड़ा स्ट्रांग पनिशमेंट होना चाहिए।
राइट।
जहाँ तक मेरा ख्याल है कि अगर इस तरह के पनिशमेंट हों ताकि लोगों को इससे लेसन मिले, तो इस तरह की कोई चीज़ें बाद में हों नहीं। और मैं आपको खुद बताता हूँ कि मैं खुद एक बार एक राइट्स में घिरा हुआ था।
कहाँ की बात है?
बीइंग ए मुस्लिम, एक हिंदू ने मुझे शेल्टर दिया था अपने घर में, अपने जान पर रिस्क लेकर। तो इस तरह की चीज़ें हर एक हिंदू, हर एक मुस्लिम में क्यों नहीं आती कि अगर इस तरह का कोई मौका है तो अपने भाई की वो हेल्प करें। ये सबसे ज़्यादा इम्पोर्टेंट चीज़ है, और मेरे ख्याल से यही सबसे ज़रूरी चीज़ है जिसमें कि एक दूसरे से हार्मनी में रहेंगे लोग। और हम लोगों का, हिंदुओं का, मुस्लिम्स का, सिख का, ईसाइयों का एग्जिस्टेंस हार्मनी के साथ रहने के अलावा कोई दूसरा चारा नहीं।
तो एक पॉइंट आपने जो एजुकेशन वाला कहा, इसके साथ में ये अवेयरनेस बढ़ाने के लिए कलेक्टिवली या कम्युनिटी वाइज क्या और किया जा सकता है?
मेरा बस ख्याल ये है कि भाईचारगी के साथ रहें एक दूसरे के साथ, और उसमें इम्पोर्टेंट चीज़ ये है कि हर एक हिंदू को या हर एक मुस्लिम को दूसरी कम्युनिटी के साथ दोस्ती करें, क्योंकि वो एक तरह के अननोन किस्म के लोग होते हैं, उसका फियर होता है।
सही कहा, बिल्कुल सही।
अगर हिंदू भी और मुसलमान भी और सिख और ईसाई भी एक दूसरे के साथ मिले, किसी भी तरह किसी भी एक्सक्यूज से एक दूसरे से मिले, और तो ताकि एक दूसरे को समझ सकें, वो एक मेरा ख्याल से बड़ा इंपॉर्टेंट स्टेप होगा। और ये एक और फिर दूसरी चीज़ ये है कि पॉलिटिशियंस, ये बात भी मैं पूरी तरह से सहमत हूँ इस बात से भी कि पॉलिटिशियंस भी हैं, ये सारे गेम खेलते हैं अपने आप को पावर में लाने के लिए।
So, appreciate your call, सैयद साहब, शुक्रिया।
तो अब मुझे मोदी जी से पूरी उम्मीद है कि वो जो है कंट्री में है अच्छी तरह से इसको कंट्रोल करेंगे, और आइंदा इस तरह की किसी किस्म की किसी भी कम्युनिटी को कोई शिकायत नहीं होगी।
और हमारी सबकी कोशिशें भी ये रहे, और हमारी ये कहें दुआ प्रार्थना भी है कि शांति बनी रहे। इस रेफरेंस को लेते हुए आप कुछ ऐड करना चाहेंगे कि अवेयरनेस बढ़ाने के लिए क्या किया जा सकता है? और
पीस अवेयरनेस के लिए
जी,
आई थिंक पहले आपने एक क्वेश्चन पूछा था कि क्या वॉर ज़रूरी है पीस के लिए। मैं आपको महाभारत का एग्जांपल दूंगा, जिसमें जब महाभारत की लड़ाई शुरू होने लगी तो अर्जुन ने लड़ाई करने से मना कर दिया या डर गए। तो उस टाइम कृष्ण भगवान जी ने बोला कि ये लड़ाई एक धर्म और अधर्म के बीच में है, which in English means triumph of good over evil। तो कई बार लड़ाई का होना या वार का होना ज़रूरी है, and I hate to see anybody getting killed, but once in a while war is necessary. I hope that we never have to take that kind of option, but that's what Mahabharata teaches us. At the same time, Mahabharata also tells us that if you are just giving charity, one person gives and the other person receives, but when you do sacrifice, you are actually helping the whole humanity. So in our Hindu religion, we are doing sacrifice after sacrifice for the sake of our country. Just like in India, I hope every Muslim feels at home in India because it's their country too. But at the same token, I also want Pakistani Muslims and Bangladeshi Muslims to treat Hindus in Pakistan and Bangladesh the same way that we treat, or the Hindus treat Muslims in India.
You know what
happens?
See, what happens is, I understand where you're coming from, but the simple question is, each nation has its own identity. The kind of identity which is cherished by India is different than the kind of identity which Pakistan or Bangladesh have. For that matter, it is declared Islamic state, whereas India is a secular state. And I would stand with you or anybody who says that they should be treated fairly, but then if that is not the case, then you cannot have similar behavior for Muslims in India. So that is the
absolutely. I never said that if someone in another country doesn't treat us well, so we should take the revenge. Never so. But we want to treat minorities as good as we want to treat ourselves. But our hope is that in other countries, the other minorities are also treated equally good.
Absolutely. So before I come to you, Ashok, let me take one more call, and I appreciate that. Hello, ITV Live. टीवी का वॉल्यूम, नमस्कार, टीवी का वॉल्यूम कम करके बोलिएगा सर।
मैं शर्मा जी से एग्री हूँ कि एजुकेशन बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट है।
जी जी,
हमारी को चाहिए पाकिस्तान जाए, वो जो स्कूल बंद है जहाँ भैंसे बांधते हैं, टीवी पे दिखाते हैं पाकिस्तानी चैनल, स्कूल बंद है वहाँ पे भैंसे बांधते गाँव वाले।
अच्छा।
एजुकेशन का जो कह रहे हैं
Sharma ji, you want to respond to that?
जी हाँ, आप बिल्कुल ठीक कह रहे हैं, लेकिन क्या है कि जैसे कई लोगों ने बोला कुछ पॉलिटिशियन इस चीज़ का फ़ायदा उठाते हैं. अगर 2, 3, 4 रिपोर्टर कुछ ऐसा बोल रहे हैं, we should not even give any importance to that kind of talk, because at this point what I believe is only good thing that Pakistan has done in the last so many years is by sending their Prime Minister Mr. Nawaz Sharif to India at the inauguration of Mr. Modi. I agree with it. Yeah, that was the right step.
I agree with it.
Yes, and I hope Mr. Nawaz Sharif is a fair person.
And Mr. What peace? What about the public?
Again, there are, I'm sure, 10, 20, 30% people are not good people in Pakistan, but 70% people, if they have...
I'm not saying there are nice people in Pakistan. I'm not saying that. I'm talking about the media.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody in Pakistan listening to the TV. Even I was listening to the TV. What is going on?
No, I agree there are bad people in media.
Two people.
But
why they are instigating the other nice people?
Sure.
I think you bring a very important point, and that is the role of media in making the kind of environment where people live harmoniously with each other. And I appreciate bringing that to this conversation, and I would request Ashok ji now to respond. And what do you see how media is playing its role?
Well, let me give you a little background. My ancestors came from India starting in 1834 to 1920 and settled in the Caribbean as well as South Africa, Fiji, and Mauritius. And in that context, we were mixed with Hindus and Muslims. But as a single group of people, sometimes small numbers, remote from India, coexistence was primary. So over the generations, within a short time, we discarded caste and religion as obstacles. And we embraced each other as brothers and coexisted among each other as well as other people of ethnic origin, such as blacks, whites, and Chinese. But in that context, national identity transcends ethnic origin or religion, and the common good was the primary focus. So you have to change that mindset. The obstacles we faced presented more difficulties rather than looking at each other. We embrace each other rather than finding the differences.
So in the last 2 minutes that we have, again, we are sad with this news of shooting at a school. And this gun control related discussion has happened at many levels. Now, I want your input. Do you see if the guns are removed or there are strict laws for you to get gun, will that help? Is that going to happen in America?
I'm not sure if this is going to happen in America because most of the politicians in US do not have guts. They are gutless people. In US alone, 30,000 people die every year of gun violence. That includes homicide, suicide, and accidental killings. And if you look at the number, every year 30,000 people die from gun violence in this country. On the other hand, in Pakistan, only 50,000 people have died since 2001. In Syria, 150,000 people have died since violence. And we give so much importance to those things, but we do not talk about gun violence in US. I mean, if US government or politicians are so worried about other countries' violence, why don't they ban the guns? My simple solution is nobody should carry guns except cops. Anyone ever found with a gun, whether they are criminals or not, they should be put in jail for the rest of their lives. And you will see how the death rate goes down in the United States. I just want to quote one Scottish author, Alistair MacLean, who wrote a book called Fear is the Key. If you have a fear, you can really bring down the violence and you can cut down all these 30,000 deaths in the United States. But fear is the key. That means very tough punishment, and any lawyer who knowingly helps people who are killing others should be put in jail too.
Ashok, I'd like to add to that.
Very brief comment from you.
The Second Amendment in the United States Constitution applies to militia, not individuals. And the courts should take that into account and ban the ownership of guns on that basis. It's a militia right, not a personal right.
So basically, the word fear came from Dr. Sharma ji. Fear is the key. And then I add faith with it. So faith in the humanity should also be developed along with the fear at the right place. We'll probably be moving towards a better society. And I appreciate the presence of Dr. Rakesh Kumar Sharma ji, Ashok Ram Saran ji, and all of you for making this conversation about peace, politics, and people so meaningful. See you tomorrow. Good night. Namaskar.